Hey everybody, Dr. Tammy here. Gonna do a quick little Facebook Live video on a really fun topic on medical cannabis. That is one of the little known things that I haven't talked about much about the cannabis plant, and I was thinking about doing a video today on kind of the stigma attached to cannabis and how all the history came about and why we look at it and view it so bad and have all these myths about it. But you know what I thought? No, the more I talk about the nerdy science, the medical aspect of how wonderful and amazing this plant is as medicine, that will start the conversations, that will destigmatize our slang terms like marijuana. And so, really what I want to do is I want to start calling this medical cannabis, calling it what it is, talking about the medicines in it. And as I was kind of doing some of the research to talk about neuropathy, I thought one of the really cool things to talk about would be to talk about the terpenes, because I haven't really talked about those. So the plant has over 100 different, maybe some people even say 200 medicines if you talk about the flavonoids and the terpenes. And so literally you wouldn't go to the pharmacy and get a blood pressure medication for your cholesterol, or you wouldn't get an antidepressant for a birth control pill. So, that's the same thing. All these different cannabinoids and terpenes all have different functions. So I want to talk about a little bit about neuropathy. So those people who are interested in, if you have neuropathy, you're not alone. And so how can this help me? So I can make this really applicable for you. So they think that about 20 million people in the US have neuropathy. And neuropathy is basically nerve pain. And it's indicated by weakness, numbness, or pain in any area where the nerves live or extend to. And it's usually presented as stabbing, burning, or tingling. I used to do lectures on neuropathy, and I would show pictures of feet that had literally like bulletin board stick pins stuck all over it, because people say that it feels like that. And it's interesting, one time I was taking a bunch of supplements that had too much B6 in it, and I got neuropathy I got toxic on B6. And it was the weirdest thing. It was like every time I walked, it was like numb, but it was painful, and it was just the weirdest thing. So I cannot imagine having that all the time. If you've ever been in the car or had your legs crossed too long and had your leg go numb, go to sleep, that's a form of it's a temporary neuropathy. But oh my gosh, if I had to have that kind of pain all the time, I would probably be suicidal. So this is a big deal for people who have neuropathy. And one of the things about neuropathy is the medications that are available. What do we have? We have opiates, narcotics, morphine, and I just had some patients in the other day, and she had a video of her husband who had literally taken so much morphine, and the doctor was giving him that amount that he was falling asleep in his dinner plate. She's like, we will never go back to that ever again. I'm gonna make sure I'm recording while I'm talking. She said, we will never go back to that again. And so, they were in there to get a cannabis certification letter. And so I was like, wow, he could have died. Because if you're not even awake enough to eat, you could, I remember this, if y'all are too young to remember this, excuse me, but there used to be this show back in the day called Mary Hartman when I was a little girl. Mary Hartman, that was always the open for it. And it was the quirkiest, weirdest, strange girl. But anyway, I think it was her husband died, like he suffocated. He fell over in his soup, and he literally suffocated in his soup. So I just thought about that. I thought, you could literally suffocate in your soup. It's really, these opiates are dangerous, and there is no lethal dose of cannabis. Well, there is. It's 15 pounds in 15 minutes, but who can consume 15 pounds in 15 minutes, right? So there is technically no lethal dose of cannabis, but there is a lethal dose of opioids, so that's really scary. So anyway, I just want to talk a little bit, and then other medications, gabapentin, if y'all have ever heard of those or known anybody on those, they cause dizziness, they cause fatigue. It's the side effects of the medication are almost worse than the actual neuropathy itself. So, we don't have a whole lot of options. So having this plant offer options is amazing. And I've talked about the endocannabinoid system and all the cannabinoids, so I'm going to talk about what terpenes are, because they are just another part of the plant that actually has some function in not only treating neuropathy but healing neuropathy. What causes neuropathy? Sometimes trauma, a broken leg or something like that, or a broken hip, nerve impingement, toxins. Artificial sweeteners are the #1 reason, and I have so many people that have had neuropathy in the past, and I have them go off diet sodas or artificial sweeteners and they get better. It's absolutely crazy how that works. Diabetes, basically the high sugar levels deteriorate the blood vessels in the nerves, so it just causes destruction to the nerves. And genetics, some people are a little more prone to it. I mentioned B6, so overload on certain vitamins can cause some toxicity as well. And any kind of pesticides, any kind of toxins or chemicals can cause it. So basically you have the endocannabinoid system, and you have these receptors called CB1 and CB2 receptors, and they regulate the neurotransmitters, the messaging that comes down the nerves, the chemicals, and the central nervous system. So the brain and the nerves are basically regulated. CB1 more brain, CB2 more the peripheral nerves. So CB2 is really where it's at for neuropathy. There was a study done in 2010. It was a single inhalation of 25 milligrams of a 9.4% THC given 3 times a day, and it was given for about 5 days, and it actually just eliminated the Catherine's bringing me some water. It eliminated the neuropathy during that time. Thank you, dear. And it's even got the Naked Doctor logo on it. I think she strategically planned that. Not sure why I got a little choky there for a minute. I think it was because she turned the heat up and the house was warm. So anyway, I want to talk about terpenes and what a terpenoid is. So, I always say that there are over 200 different chemicals in the cannabis plant, and terpenes are just one of them. And terpenes actually give the plant its unique smell. So if you've ever heard of like super lemon haze, or all these different smells, which can be lovely or they can be a turnoff depending on whether you like the smell or not. And other plants have terpenes in them. Pine trees have a high amount of that of pine, basically, which is the terpene that makes it smell like a pine tree. So other plants besides cannabis have terpenes, but the cannabis plant has a lot of different terpenes in it, and so depending on how you grow your strains will depend on how much of that terpene you have. So the cool thing about doing this in such a medical, nerdy science way with the dispensaries and not just having it recreational is that you can treat different conditions with different strains that have different terpenes and different cannabinoids in them. So it's not just about the cannabinoids, it's about the terpenes too. So you'll hear the term terpenes and terpenoids. This is basically, the terpenoids are basically a different carbon hydrogen molecule, and it's the way it's basically in the flowering plant. It's a little bit different, so I'm not going to go into the nerdy science of that. But terpenes actually increase norepinephrine activity, which can help if you're tired. There are antidepressants like Effexor and some of those that you might be familiar with. So if you're tired and you need more norepinephrine in your body, or you have adrenal fatigue, it can really help with that. It acts like SSRIs, so those are serotonin reuptake inhibitors. You probably know Prozac and different antidepressants. And it actually helps to upregulate GABA. GABA is a calming brain neurotransmitter, and it kind of helps with sleep, and it helps with your immune system as well. And the terpenes are, wait for it, this is really cool, essential building blocks to complex plant hormones like sterols. So we can, just like I'm always saying, that the reason I got into bioidentical hormones, which is what my day job is because we have a hormone system in our body where we can take plant hormones. You can take terpene, or you can take, the plant, and you can get basically cannabinoids for your system, but terpenes actually help make hormones too, your sex hormones like testosterone and estrogen and progesterone. So this is a basis for building blocks for making hormones. So a lot of times with hormone imbalances, you'll have mood issues. So terpenes are wonderful for depression and anxiety, and the nervous system is all connected with the mood, and so neuropathy is very much connected with having the right terpenes. So I want to talk about terpenes just a little bit. I mentioned that they're found in other plants like pine, different sweet scents that make it like super lemon haze, that give all the different, in the dispensary, all the different smells to the plants. And basically what these terpenes do is they give the plant the taste, smell, and flavor, and they'll attract pollinators. So like bees that make honey, that do the pollination. Also repels insects, so it acts as a natural insect repellent. So sometimes they use different, like citronella, they use that to deflect insects. And it also protects against bacteria and fungus, so it helps protect the plant. But how it works in our bodies is different strains do different things. And so limonene, which smells a lot like lime, increases the mood and helps with gastroesophageal reflux. So that's another thing. A lot of people have chronic nausea, which is one of the indications for the certification in Arkansas, are because they have a lot of acid reflux. I would love to do a whole video just on acid reflux and natural cures, and I think I'll do that, and I think I've done that in the past, but that's a little bit on the scope of what I want to talk about here, but this is awesome. There's another one called myrcene, which is a musky kind of smell, and it helps with anxiety. It downregulates some of those. It helps with GABA, and it works like an SSRI. And then there's humulene, which has an anti-inflammatory effect, and this is probably, myrcene and humulene are probably the best terpenes for neuropathy. So when you go to the dispensary, it's going to look just like a pharmacy, and it's going to be very professional, very clean, and there's regulations, and they are checking all these terpene levels, all these cannabinoid levels. So when they make a strain, and strains might be different from state to state, so like what we call Black Widow or the Green Hash, or whatever, the names don't mean anything because they'll be different, and different dispensaries will probably use different names of things to brand and things like that. But you will be able to look on the label just like medicine and see the percentage of certain terpenes and see the percentage of different cannabinoids, so that you can match the medicine to your disorder or to your disease or to whatever your issue is where you have a deficiency, to kind of fill that in. So I'm really super excited. A good friend of mine just got his dispensary approved in Mulberry, Arkansas. Yay, Corey. That's so awesome. And so this is moving forward. The more you know, the more empowered, the more educated you are, the better you're going to be able to get your needs met. So start studying now. So many of my patients know more than I know about this stuff. Most people are just coming in to get legal. It's kind of funny. But, I want to educate as much as I can, destigmatize it, make it medical medicine is what it is, and really kind of help people understand that and moving forward. So if you have any thoughts or anything you'd like me to do videos about, please comment, and I'll probably bring my friend Heffernan and do something a little bit more fun and engaging than just cannabis. I don't want to do cannabis all the time. So anyway, maybe back on later tonight, or may see you tomorrow. But I love y'all. Have a great evening, and please help spread the word, empower, educate. Don't just go based on myth and stigma and whatever you've heard about something. As far as cannabis goes, do your research, educate yourself about it before you go talking out the side of your mouth when you don't know. And there's so much fear around this. We just want to kind of take that down a little bit, because this is happening, and we need to keep it very educated and empowered. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.